goidelic faith. Another day. Well, a little update real quick before we start. I'm happy to just fucking say that the narration is complete for the Forgotten series. Now it comes time to do the little voice acting parts, do the music, and all that other shit. That's gonna be a pain in the fucking ass. Anyway, so where are we in life? Where aren't we in life? What is life? What isn't life? Well, what is life is what isn't. What isn't what is. We've been going down this road ever so slightly for quite a while now. And though the road may be rocky at times, uneven, seemingly getting us lost, we're always generally right where we need to be. Just about every time I notice that. I can't help but feel that way. Because it's along those lines of, if you're looking to get lost, you will get lost. If you're looking to be found, you may be found. But sometimes just because you're moving forward doesn't necessarily mean you're going to go anywhere. And I've been hard on the heels of the search for the left side of my mind, as I've kind of equated to in the last video. It's been a search that's taken me a long time. One that I didn't necessarily know I was even on. For the longest amount of time. I don't know what the compelling nature was behind it. I don't necessarily know how it happened. But as I've been working more and more on my book, the mythology, the chronicle of finding thyself, the more I've realized that in that journey of finding myself, I've begun to articulate things in a way that I never thought I could before. I began to see myself in a light that I never saw before. I have been trying my damnedest to become something I never thought I could be. And it's been a fucking hell of a journey the whole time. The amount of, you could say, meditation that it takes to begin the search inside is astounding. And you have to find moments of meditation every single where you go, every single thing you do. There's a sense of meditation in everything. One could find the meditation within reading. You could find the meditation in your drive. You could even find the meditation in watching some video, I guess, that you like to watch. It's not always about just sitting there, in that Indian pose and just kind of quieting and stilling yourself. That's a part of meditation, but meditation is such a bigger concept. And I've taken the approach of late myself to meditate through journaling. That's the only way that I can necessarily meditate, because what I'll end up doing, just like it sounds, is I turn the head off and I just go. I don't know what will happen. I don't know what it is. And sometimes you can be influenced by a question. Like sometimes for me, it's a philosophical question, like what exactly am I? And I can feel that with my stream of consciousness. Or other times it just begins and things will happen. It could be as simple as talking about how you feel about certain things, or how you're feeling in that moment even. And from that point, you just keep moving on until I guess you cut the stream for whatever reason. And I'm looking back at my life and starting to kind of piece together how I got to this point. Because these journals aren't the only ones I've ever done. I have a whole shit ton of journals. I've been journaling for a long goddamn time. That journaling has been quintessential in the growth of myself. The separating from what I thought I should have known, or what I thought I did know, or what I thought was cast upon me, and moving into what I need to know for myself. And along that way, there's been many synchronicities and many influences. There have been times where I've been reassured of what I'm meant to be doing. And I always equate that to the guardians, my guardians that look over me. Parts of myself that are identifying the patterns around me, or parts of myself that are idyllic, or parts of myself that seem to be prophetic. Okay, Frederick, honey, I'm gonna get you down, okay? Sit up. It's okay, come here. You look like you didn't have any confidence in it, so we got you down, okay? But as Fred always tells me, so there's many different versions of, I always call it the guardians. You could just say the archetypes of your character. You could say your personality types. I don't know, whatever your fucking beliefs are. Guardian angels. In some sense, you look out for yourself, but when you're not actively aware of the whole of your mind, you don't necessarily know it is yourself. You can make it feel like it's God. You can make it feel like it's a guardian angel, the devil, if it's a negative thing, you know, evil spirits and shit. It's all a part of your moving mind. And I think I'm saying that, trying to, in some sense, identify every little faction of your mind, every little group, every little council or thought form, or just anything that happens inside of you, can be quite arduous to do. And so I can understand why you'd leave it be. You know, we tend to just behave. We tend to just live in the world and just do what we do, and we think we know what we know. And I don't know, man. There's a whole bunch of reasons why people do what they do, and I can't necessarily say what that is. I can only say that in my life, I've been trying as hard as I can and striving to understand every single part of me. Every part that makes me myself. Whether I understand exactly how it does or not, I try my damnedest to identify it and at least come to terms with it. Because even in some sense, I could say there are some negative aspects of myself that I'm not necessarily okay with, but I made that. You know, taking ownership of the life I live. I made where I am. I made my mind and how I got here. I've been heavily influenced by everything, but the minute I start to identify that an external source can happen within, and it can do something to me, negative or positive, right? A traumatic incident or some gleeful one. The minute I start to say, yeah, but I am who I am, was the minute I could no longer use the excuse, well, that's just how I am. Because that's bullshit. You can change who you are. Once you can identify the source in which comes to you, and you identify an aspect of your personality, whether it be like, I don't know, for example, someone's like, yeah, I just kind of get mad at those kind of things. I can't help it. That's just who I am. You know what I mean? Or they say, like, I'm just a jealous person. That's just who I am. That's bullshit. I truly think that's fucking bullshit. It's a great excuse. Sounds nice. But it's bullshit. For me, it was always to better oneself. The beginning process of identifying, you don't just stop there and just say, you know, that's just how it is. Like, no, you can correct it. You could stop there. So if, like, you have your vehicle and you know the spark plugs are bad, you know that they are, you could be like, this is how it is. Let's just accept it. Yeah, you could do that, and then eventually it doesn't work anymore. Or you could change spark plugs, and all of a sudden, it's gone. So is that problem. The human mind's much more complex than that, I understand. But my point is, you can change the way you perceive things, the way you are, the way that you react to things. Circling back, for myself, the journaling, the meditative state of writing, is to identify that which hides inside my mind that I'm not necessarily paying attention to. I'm not aware of. It's just, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just writing down stream of consciousness so I can look back and see what was going on in there, because that's a cycle. That thought doesn't happen and then it magically is gone forever, and you're never going to think that again. It's always inside of you. So if you can start identifying processes, if you can start identifying what will the word be? Rhythms that you get into, mental rhythms, you can undo it in that sense, right? It's kind of a therapeutic experience. It's cathartic, right? Catharsis is all we're really ever after. And catharsis is a form of purification. So the purification, as I'm understanding, it can be broken down in 3 different ways. You have therapeutic catharsis. Ooh, you have like a purging catharsis, which is more artistic, which I'll get to in a second. And you have salvation catharsis, which is religious. And those are the triangle of catharsism. This is according to some philosophies. Now, catharsis is the depths of self, is going into the depths of yourself, right? As I'm reading some of my notes here. And it depends on what ends you seek, but there are ways to heal it. So the way of the arts is like in poetry and plays and stuff. When you go watch it, you can kind of feel for the characters on stage, and in some sense you're taking part in a catharsis, as I'm understanding it. It's very interesting like that. And necessarily what you're going to go into in that is the hubris, the Erinnys. The hubris is the male, which is a prance and to bray. It's, the hubris of man, right? And then the furies, the woman's scorn kind of thing. And it all comes into the idea of working inside of your mind. And the reason I'm bringing this up is to say, through that process of understanding yourself and going through it and going through the rhythms and identifying different things you're doing or what's going on in you, or God knows, the depths of your being, it's a cathartic experience. And you could take that any way you want. You could find it in the arts, you could find that in therapy, you could find that in religion. It all kind of leads to the same thing. It's just what I'm trying to do is, in terms of that, what if I can find my own religion in that? What if I could find my own therapy in my own arts? I seek to do all 3 of those things with my mythology. I feel like mythology is the combining of all 3. In my theory, my creative mythology is the embodiment of all 3 versions of catharsism. I don't know if that's exactly what you call it, but being cathartic. Because you think of the arts, because it's a fucking novel, right? And then you think of religion. Well, I definitely, with my mythologies, I really focus heavily on the idea of how it affects you in a religious sense and what God is and what consciousness is. The therapeutic element is the creation of both of those things. So it works on all 3 aspects. But the note of that, the reason that it kind of has to come to be is to truly understand the inner workings of whatever is going on. Now, there was a word that I found when I was looking into catharsis, and that's estasis, estasis. And it's defined as deep time. Seemingly, it is a realization of something you need to discover, the epiphany of what you are to find. That's like another version of this, right? It's led that in the triangle of the idea we're talking about here, with the mythology being the center, that is the estasis. That is this deep time. That is the realization. So the main thing I want to talk about here is saying, though creating this mythology has been very cathartic in many senses, it's leading to this estasis of enlightenment of what I need to do. I'd ask myself, I'd always say, why are you doing what you're doing? What are you getting out of this? You're supposed to create this mythology, right? Why? Well, that's fucking it. It's to find this enlightenment. It's to find this aha moment, as they call it. This makes sense now. It's all wrapped itself together. Catharsis is diving deep, deep into the soul and trying as hard as you can to illuminate what is in there, to learn what's happening inside yourself. In the meditation, the catharsis happens. I just so happen to be doing in a 3-pronged approach, which leads to mythology. But what that leads to is this out-of-body kind of thing, of an aha moment of saying, holy shit, it's all making sense. I can see it now. It's been a long journey, this whole experience that I've been going on. It's led me to be a person that I never thought I was. Like I was saying in the beginning, I mean, I've collected so many books along the way. We're talking thousands of dollars in books. You know, it's not something I ever thought I would ever do. I always hated reading, and I still really, really struggle with it. But I know what it's doing. It's helping me find something of self in the works of another. Because there's so many people in this world that have said and done things that eventually you'll stumble on something that will lead you to your personal enlightenment. Even if it's one fucking sentence in a book that you never thought you'd ever open up. You read it and just like, oh man, that sentence is all you need to read from that whole book. I can't really tell you what that is, but for me, it's happened so many times. And I can't really go into it anymore without repeating myself. But to say, this process, this mythology, this understanding self, so it's like a Jungian idea, the psychoanalysts, where you only do it to yourself, right? I interpret my own dreams and I use them in my mythology. I go on these meditative thoughts, deep, deep, deep thoughts of who I am, what I'm doing, what life is, what consciousness is, what God is, what people are, what is being, what is experience, and I try to take note of everything that could come from that. I put that in the mythology. I take my entire life in a metaphor and put it in the mythology. I take every aspect of the personalities that ride within my head and use them as characters in a play for the mythology. The mythology, the Forgotten series, ends up being this playground of the mind. And the overall themes inside of it play on the idea that you are witnessing a mind at work. In that sense, it's creating a doorway. That doorway from myself to whoever's taking it in. But also it leads to a doorway through the creator. Something that I made mention in the last video. The idea that the creator is a doorway. And through that is like the source, I guess. The kingdom of heaven. That is the point in which you're always pulling from. That's why they say creative people have muses, and then they have, what's that word? Fuck. Like an awen. It's like some creative thing that hits you, and you're just from another, right? And you're just making something, and you're like, holy shit, that's it. And you don't really feel like control because that's God, right? You always say, well, that's God working through me. He made me make this masterful piece of art. He did. But he's a doorway, and behind him lies the source of everything. For myself, the mythology lies between me and the creator because it's kind of like this, it's its own vessel. It's its own kind of filter. And whatever happens to me in this material world, the life I experience and the things that I do and feel and see, touch and all that, I'm putting it up into there, and it's kind of deciphering it, and then I feel, it's kind of weird to say, but as I work on the mythology, I feel like I'm working on this end and there's some higher being working on the other, and together we're collaborating on this process. Is that completely insane to somebody? Most likely, right? But then why wouldn't it be? You know, if you didn't think about it, anything's insane, right? If you say something, I'll think it's fucking insane because I didn't think about it, and that must be weird. So it's just how people work, and I'm okay with that. It's what it is. But I don't necessarily want to... How would I word this? The road is ever long, and it's a journey that's being taken that I feel sometimes at the whim of the winds. Or as I mentioned in the previous video, I kind of feel like I'm being dragged, a drug or whatever, through this. And I've been doing so many things to improve myself here, but I never really knew what I was improving it for. Because I always saw the merit in suffering. I don't think that's something that you can just like, well, no more suffering. It goes away and it's better. Like, no, that's bullshit. Suffering creates so much more than pleasure ever will. You always look fondly back at the darkest times, even though you pretend you don't, because there's something that you, at least you were feeling there, and you were in the moment, and you were trying to figure something out. You can look back at that moment and have nostalgia for it. That doesn't make it, you know, like you're not getting off on it. It's just you understand the process of darkness inside of yourself is the process of finding the light. There's nothing wrong with seeking to find the light. You got to look at it a different way, you know? You weren't getting off on suffering. You were enjoying the idea that you were in a dark place and you try to illuminate it, you know? It's not an easy road that we have on this journey of our lives. And it's been quite a journey for myself, and I've learned so much, and I've hurt a lot. I've been hurt. I have hurt others, and I've felt stupid, but I also felt intelligent. I've experienced so many different things, all leading to an outcome. One that I don't necessarily know if someone else will truly understand, but then sometimes I think they may. Because after all, are we truly separate or are we together? What was I before? What construct is this? All of these things, the worlds and beings that float around me, how are they me? What is me? I who sit here in the coffee shop, writing of Dove, who is that? Is he separate from them, those people around me? Or are they within too? What harsh reality is mine? What is yours? What about one's? I, you, we. But we feel. We can sense together if we understand, if we are convinced to truly listen and understand that which lies outside of ourselves. Can we not find some common vessel of our emotions? Some place like empathy in which we could reside? Is that what it really is? Are we separate beings who can share a mind, yet it takes a vessel, or in this case, for my argument, an egregore, a thought form, a holding of mind and feeling, something we join ourselves and animate such a being. That place where life brought is merely to those who bring it. Outside there is a looking glass. When looking in, we can pass our judgment and thoughts what may exist inside. How wrong can we be? But is it our faults? Knowing is only being. Being is perceiving. And how is this all connected to Dove? All that exists outside of him. Is it him? Or beings of another where he can fall in and out with, join or break from, see it or not? Whether we are in it or not, it is here. It's my speculation of how this stuff is in the presence of the being inside of me that I identify as Dove, the progenitor of man, to put it simply in the mythological terms. The idea that this being that brought enlightenment, but he also is the symbol of fighting against tyranny, fighting against conformity and shit. Like, Dove epitomes that, and I say, well, what is he? What does he represent in that? Tyranny from himself? From another? From us? Or them? The idea is always, with what I'm working on through the meditations, what's the difference between you and I? What's the difference between me and we? If I can sense the things that are going on through me and people relate to it, was there a difference in the first place? Or is it just interesting? Not something that's been easily defined. Not something that I could sit and tell you right now, that's what it is. But I can say that the journey that I've been going on in the writing of this mythology, this cathartic process, has been the most monumentous thing I've ever done in my entire life. It's been the most difficult goddamn journey I have ever taken on. Will I ever do this again? I don't know. But all along the way, I notice more and more, the only thing that matters to me is to discover what I'm meant to discover that's inside of myself. And if I can chronicle along the way what that is, I will gladly do it so that someone else may see and have inspired them to do it. The process is, it can feel damning. You could think that the whole world around you was a lie. You could think God has abandoned you. You could think you were being lied to. You could think that you found some new truth that no one will ever know. You can go down any fucking road that exists. To paranoia, everyone's out to get you kind of thing. all the way to I'm better than everyone. Even being in terms of I don't even know if I'm real or not. Just sometimes feeling like maybe you're an alien. Maybe you don't belong on this planet. Maybe human consciousness you've separated from so much you don't even know what that means. In fact, you can get so into this kind of discovery that you split yourself in two and you don't even know what the other half of you is or even how to reach that other half of you, your left from your right. Everything can happen along the way, but I think it's just a part of the journey. It's not this outward thing. Do you know what I mean? Where it's just like, it's just an outward experience. You go out and climb mountains sometimes to feel the enlightenment of God, and you join the army because, you know, you learn how to be disciplined and be something bigger than yourself. And you get married so you can learn how to be selfless. You learn how to care about someone else and take care of someone else. It could be about all these fucking human things that are external. I'm like, great, that's good stuff. But like, what about inside? What about inside? And that's kind of the journey that I've been taking for some years now. And all I can say is it's been a hell of a one. But anyway, time to go. Time to get back into the game and see what lies ahead. What that is, I cannot say, but I can say this. I don't know who I'm going to be tomorrow, but we'll find out.